who says that pushing harder makes more sense? My answer was, I generally take it easy. I generally try to be with my family more on the holidays than I normally would. And I try to chill and relax, and I'm good. And I'm kind of proud of myself for saying that.
Most hosts never achieve the results they hoped for. They're falling short on listenership and monetization, meaning their message isn't being heard and their show ends up costing them money. This podcast was created to help you grow your listenership and make money while you're at it. Get ready to take notes. Here's your host, Adam Adams.
Hey, what's up, podcaster? It is your host, Adam A. Adams, and today we are reminding you to not let yourself get overwhelmed about anything and everything. Just self-reflecting because of how my last few weeks have gone. And I kind of wish that I would have listened to this podcast episode a few weeks ago, and it might have helped. And so it might not be as specific to just podcasting. Maybe it's not a podcasting strategy. Maybe it's not a tip, trick, or piece of equipment that you need to buy for your podcast. But I think any business owner and any podcaster will benefit from this little reminder. And you could probably hear it in my voice. I'm a little stressed. I'm a little stressed out. So the thing that I have been doing or planning is I didn't get my passport until 2019. Kind of interesting story here. And then we'll get back to the point. Interesting story is I was born in the middle of nowhere on a small polygamist colony and in my house. And so I didn't have the same birth as maybe you who's listening, who probably got born in a house, 85% chance here at least, probably got born in a hospital for you. And that means that one of the first things that the doctor probably did is just said to your parents, your mom, hey, what's her name going to be? What's his name going to be? And then mom probably gave the name, or dad did. And then you had a birth certificate. And for me, I was born in the middle of nowhere, and birth certificate wasn't a big deal. And the religion of this small subsect of Mormonism that I grew up, that I was born into, basically they were a very small church, and they weren't necessarily planning on me flying around. And so I dated one woman for about a year, and she wanted me to get my passport. And this was back in 2015, and never was able to get my passport, never got it. And then I ended up dating somebody else, and we dated for 6.5 years, and wonderful relationship. It did end. And during that, she gave me an ultimatum. It's kind of interesting. She gave me this ultimatum that said, she goes, if you don't get your passport, that's okay, but I'm still going to travel. And there's this great singles group on Facebook where a bunch of single people are traveling. And I was like, oh, hell no. You're not going to go with all these single people and travel without me. And I wasn't good with that. So I basically, this part of me in 2019 was I've got to get my assistant. At the time, I had a personal assistant, and who was amazing. I got to get my assistant to stop anything else. Nothing about my cars, nothing about my kids, nothing about my business. I need this person to focus on my passport. How this comes about is basically that I was born in a house in the middle of nowhere, didn't get my birth certificate. And interestingly enough, in the US, if you don't have your birth certificate before, I think it's your second birthday, then it's really challenging to end up getting a birth certificate later on, to get a passport, later on in your life. Because even if you got a passport, I got mine when I was 4. My mom left this subsect religion, and she basically denounced it, didn't want anything to do with it, even basically brought me somewhere else. And I went to grade school in Salt Lake City. But at 4 years old, my mom was like, oh crap, he can't go to school if he doesn't have a birth certificate. And he never had one. So she rushed and she went and got one when I was 4 years old. And based on that fact that I got it when I was 4 instead of before 2 years old, there was a lot of hoops to jump through for me to be able to even get a passport. Luckily enough, my assistant in 2019 crushed it. We were calling my grade schools. We were getting transcripts. We were getting vaccination records from all my doctors. We were getting affidavits signed by my parents, my grandparents, and whomever else we could find, and ended up working. And it was pretty sick. sick is a good thing. It was pretty gnarly. I was stoked. I finally could go out of the country, and it was 2019. And then 2020 comes around and punches me in the face because my ex and I had a trip to Europe planned. We were going to go to Croatia, which is supposed to be gorgeous. I haven't been still, but we were planning on going to Croatia. And then I love wine. Anybody who listens to this knows that mountain biking, fitness, and jeeping and wine are kind of like, and my kids are like my top 5 things, right? Podcasting, maybe also in the top 6 here. Going back to the story, I also wanted to go to Portugal. Portugal, for those of you who don't know this, they have different kinds of wine there as well. So they've got vineyards and everything. But one of the things that they're most famous for is this thing called port wine. Now, it's a dessert wine, which I'm not always the biggest fan of sweet wines, but this dessert wine from Portugal is one of my favorites. And they literally just call it port. And so it's the only place it's allowed to call it. Now, there's a couple kinds. There's ruby port, which is a red port. And then there's tawny port, which is like an aged port where it's no longer red and it starts becoming brown, kind of like has this tawny color to it. And there's a 10-year and then there's a 20-year. And there's also 30, 40. I think the 30 and 40s are just a big waste of money because the 20 is where it's at. In fact, yesterday, 2 days ago, actually, from the time I record this, I just bought a very nice bottle of 20-year tawny as well, because it's one of my favorite things. So anyway, on this European trip that we were planning, we were going to go to Croatia, which is supposed to be gorgeous and cheap. And we're supposed to go to Portugal. And then what happened in 2020? Do you guys remember? Yep, lockdown. So we no longer could keep our flights. So I had to cancel that trip. And if you just fast forward a little bit, there came a time where lockdown was open and I started traveling. Now, not to brag or anything like that, I'm not coming from that place, but I was doing this to get all of the traveling out of my system because I didn't get my passport until much, much, much later. Finally, I get the passport and lockdown happens and then I'm frustrated. And then finally I can start traveling. So my ex and we traveled a lot together, and I would travel also frequently. I would just travel for a night or two, go to Moab, go jeeping, mountain biking, go to Utah, go skiing with my brother. Some of my trips were a 3-hour flight or 2.5-hour flight. And some of my other trips were out of the country and have been out of the country. And there's this random thing that human beings need to be congruent with whatever we say. And I said that I love traveling and I'm going to try to travel every other week. So I've got my kids every other week. And on the opposites, I don't have kids. And I've been taking this as time to go travel. This is what this episode's all about. So you got to learn a lot about me and being born on a polygamous colony and middle of nowhere and not being able to get my passport. You learned a lot about me as well on this. So let's give you the big lesson of why do I feel stressed? I feel stressed for a couple of reasons. A, it's because I've been traveling every other week. And when I come home, I have extra work to do, more work with my clients and with my team than normal because I was out of town and I couldn't do it. I was going to take that time off. And so human beings need to be congruent. Remember I said that? I'm holding to this thought process of showing my friends, my family, probably my ex, probably needing to prove a point to her that I have got money or something. I don't know where all this comes from. But what I've been doing is I've been out of the country practically twice a month for the last year plus. And I like it. I enjoy it. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, except for the fact that when I'm home, I pile on more work and I've got my kids. And frankly, to be honest with you, when I was just with that one person, when my ex and I were together, there wasn't a lot of like courting. There wasn't a lot of talking to a lot of different people because I would like a relationship and I'm looking for a relationship. I want to have that. That's an important part of life. And we've been broken up for 6 months as I record this and haven't really had anything yet. So anything serious anyways. So it's like I'm dating and I'm working more and I'm exercising. I'm going to the gym, keeping my six pack, doing what I can to stay fit. And then every other week I'm out of town doing something, and I haven't gotten sick yet. Now, when you get real stressed out, your body loses, your immune system gets weaker. And with me, and kind of like traveling a lot, being out of town, but putting a lot of extra work on my plate while I'm home, going to the gym, being with my kids, raising them, doing fun shit with them, like actually trying to have the best dad that I can, and trying to find a way to date and find somebody so that I don't have to date around anymore, is a lot. It's a lot to handle. It's a lot to take. And I'm thinking about self-care. I'm thinking about not putting too much on our plates. I'm thinking, damn, I wish that I would have listened to this episode a few weeks ago, because all of this is important to any of us who are running businesses, podcasts. Another thing, I'm recording my podcast episodes, not when I'm in Mexico. I'll be actually in Mexico while you listen to this. I'll be in Mexico. This is coming out the day that I get back to Mexico. Again, I was in Puerto Vallarta with my good friend Tate. He's also a client of ours. So I spent a week with him, and I spent a week in Moab right before that, and another week in St. George right after that. And in the day that you're getting to listen to this, and basically a couple days after I record it, I'm flying back to Mexico, but to a different part of Mexico for another 8 days. And how I'm feeling is like, I just want to say F it to the world in a way, F it to all this work, all this effort, all this stress, F it to, in a way, kind of like this, me trying to need to prove a point to someone, F it to needing to travel as much. I think we can get value in traveling a lot less than every other week being out of the country or whatever it is. F it to prove it a point to my ex that I'm doing well financially, or whatever that I might be doing, whatever you might be doing. F it to the constant amount. And I'm trying to think, how do we back this up? Because I'm looking at the future, and I'll be in Mexico for like over a week, and then I'll come home for about a week, and then I'll be in St. Louis for a mastermind for a few days, and then I'll come home, and then I'll fly back out to Jamaica with my brother. He went on his mission to Jamaica for a couple of years. He served for 2 years in Jamaica, and I want to go with him, and I want to do skydiving with him. And then I'm going to come home, and then I'm going to go, within 2 weeks later, I'm going to go to the Philippines for a couple of weeks and visiting my team. And the way I feel is like, all of this stuff is great, and some of it's important and some of it's nice, but I feel overwhelmed with it. Like, I feel overwhelmed with dating lots of people, or like not dating, but courting, talking to, feel overwhelmed with trying to travel every other week and just never having like downtime. And last night, and overwhelmed with working out. Like, I had to work out on Saturday and Sunday this week, because usually I try to take the weekends off of my gym time, but I was working so much and with the kids and having parades and random stuff that I had to barely work it in. Point is that I do feel overwhelmed by traveling, and I need to take a break. I need to say F it, and I need to actually chill the F out. I need to stop doing all of this and maintaining all of this. And I can end the episode with a couple of other illustrations, just in case, at random, in case you don't completely resonate with everything that I just said, but you are in a slightly different position. I want to share that with you. Maybe you're not feeling overwhelmed because you're traveling, or because you have kids. Maybe you don't have any kids. Maybe you don't have enough money or time to travel because of your job, because of your kids, or whatever it is. So maybe you're not traveling. Maybe you're not focusing on the kids. Maybe you don't care about a six pack and eating right all the time and whatever else that I care about. Maybe you don't. Maybe you care about something else, but you are still feeling stressed. You're still feeling overwhelmed right now. And now let's figure this out together, because we're at the end of the year. And so it's around that time for New Year's resolutions. And a buddy of mine made a post a few weeks ago that basically said, hey, in Q4, the fourth quarter of the year, the last 3 months, do you usually slow down, or you just keep going the same speed? And a significant amount of the people were like, if I don't go harder at the end of the year, who's going to do it for me? Others would say, I definitely go harder because we got to get a jump on 2023. I think these ideas are kind of ludicrous. Who says that you have to push way harder at the end of the year. Who says that pushing harder makes more sense? My answer was, I generally take it easy. I generally try to be with my family more on the holidays than I normally would. And I try to chill and relax, and I'm good. And I'm kind of proud of myself for saying that, but it's not that I'm completely doing it. Yes, I'm still traveling. Yes, I'm still having fun. Yes, I'm still dating. And yes, I'm still trying to be a good father. But I just think that I could do less and be happy. One of the women that I've been on a few dates with, and we won't be seeing each other anymore, but that's not the point. I was real impressed with a part of her. She doesn't seem to care about money or fame. She cares about true happiness, and money doesn't buy happiness. And partly because of her inspiration and partly because of the stress that I've been feeling by maintaining needing to travel every other week. And I think it's just because I did it for a while and I just feel like I have to maintain doing it, even though I'm getting exhausted and tired. And I don't know if I really want to be out of the country twice a month, half of every month. It just seems like a lot. You go somewhere for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days, and then you come home and then you got to unpack and make sure the house is clean. And it just seems like a lot. So I want you to think about my problems and self-care and find a way, regardless of what season you listen to this in. If you might be listening to it in the summer or the winter, the spring or the fall, around your birthday, around some other holiday. And just the big takeaway is it's okay to chill out. It's fine to just chill out. And sure, I'm talking to myself. You don't even need to hear this. This is my diary. This is my journal today. I think it's okay to chill out. And I think I'm going to go ahead and finish this Mexico trip, the Cancun trip, the Jamaica trip, Montego Bay, and I'll probably finish the Philippines trip because they're already planned. They're already paid for. People are already expecting and planning for it. I just am letting you know and myself know, saying it out loud for accountability so that you, the listener, can reach out and say, make sure you haven't traveled. I just want to say, I'm probably not going to care so much about traveling as much. Maybe I could go every other month for 2 weeks, every other month for 2 weeks. Wouldn't that be a beautiful thing? Where you go and instead of just spending 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days somewhere, you spend 14 days. And it's not just about the traveling. And when you spend 3 to 8 days, a lot of the trip is about the packing and the flying and the unpacking and the other packing, flying, and unpacking. A lot of the trip is centered around that. And wouldn't it be beautiful to just lessen it and make it a bit more meaningful of a trip? So I guess that can go hand in hand with your podcast in quantity and quality. Do you want a shit ton of episodes, or do you want good content that resonates with your listener perfectly, that actually helps them to be able to get to the next level? So these are some of the things I've been thinking of. I'm probably going to chill on traveling. I'm probably not going to care to prove myself to anyone as much as I probably have been, because I think that's a major reason why I've been maintaining traveling every other week, no matter what, and literally done that for over a year. It's probably a lot of, I said it and I wanted to be congruent, and it sounds a little impressive to some people. And, I probably did some of that for the wrong reasons, but I'm getting to where I need to be. And I'm hoping that you get to where you need to be. Don't work so hard. Don't work late at night. Don't overwork or abuse yourself or your body or your sleep or your mentality by doing more than you can handle. I've probably been doing the very tippy top of what I can handle for a year straight. I'm ready to calm down and hope you got something out of this. It was nothing really about podcasting. It was more about polygamy than it was podcasting. I'll say that much. I'll see you guys on the next episode. It's going to be an episode with a great guest. Every other episode, I just sit down with somebody who is podcasting. I ask them questions that I know that you want to know and just get their experience, their feedback, their perspective on some of this that I think will really help you. And so that's already recorded and it's ready to go. It's just the very next episode after this. So stay tuned. I'll see you there. You're not alone if you're ready to either get your very first affordable microphone or if you're ready to upgrade your equipment to some legit podcasting studio equipment. Because on all of the forums over the last few months, I'm seeing this all the time. Even my own personal clients that work with my team, they're ready to get that next microphone. they're asking us for it. Additionally, when I'm on discovery calls with potential clients, they're always asking for this stuff. Hey, what mic do you recommend? Hey, what lighting do you recommend? What webcam should I be using? So many questions. And so what we did, my whole team has put together a PDF so that if you're one of those people who is looking to either get your very first affordable microphone, or if you're ready to upgrade your equipment to more professional podcast studio equipment, whether it's soundproofing or whatever, we've got you covered by going to growyourshow.com/PDF. And you can download the PDF for free, or right there on the webpage is everything that you would have, and you don't need to download the PDF. Either way, just go to growyourshow.com/PDF, which will put you to the podcasting equipment that me and my team have personally vetted. I'll see you on the next episode.